Okay, we are live. Welcome everybody to the Friday feature with 21st Century Distributing. We are starring Epson today. Couldn't be more excited about it. Please don't take the tone of my voice as how excited I am. I am battling a crazy cold, so I sound a little different. But we have had just an incredible launch with Epson, and we only had it for about a month. The dealers are excited. We've had a lot of activity on our website and our sales teams. So I know both the dealers and the sales teams that are on this call are eager to learn more about the product line. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce Rob, and he's going to get going. We've got about a 30-minute presentation. There is no audio on your end, so if you have a question, just pop it in the Q&A, and I'll be monitoring that. And I'll pause when it's a natural pause in the presentation to have him answer any questions. So, Rob, take it away. Thank you, sir.
Sounds good, Sean. I appreciate the intro, and everyone on the call, I appreciate your time. We're just going to jump right in and start talking about Epson projectors. So I'm going to share my screen, and we'll go ahead and get started. Of course, since this is the first time in this platform, it's telling me that I need to grant my computer permissions. So give me 1 second while I actually do that. You know, technology is supposed to be enabling us, but sometimes it's quite a pain in the butt. Okay. So I'm actually not going to share my screen. It looks like in order for that to work, I have to close Chrome and reboot it in order to get the permissions going. So we're just going to chat through it. It's perfectly fine. I'm comfortable being on camera, but we'll talk a little bit again about what Epson has going on. So essentially, what I really wanted to cover today is it's relatively high level, talking about kind of categorically what Epson kind of brings to the market, the kind of the access that you have to the Epson portfolio. There's well over 100 different SKUs that you can access through Epson. Now, of course, you're not going to sort all of those. That would be a nightmare. That would be hellish. But I do want to make you aware of what is available from a relatively high level. Essentially, when you think about Epson projectors, they kind of categorically can be broken down into two main kind of buckets, residential and commercial. And so that's how we choose to talk about them. And if you call us and you have questions and you're looking for information, we will use that language, residential or commercial. But I do want to caution you on one thing. When we mean residential or commercial, it doesn't mean projectors that are exclusively, useful in only a commercial or B2B application or only a residential, B2C application. What we really mean is in terms of the feature set and how projectors are kind of designed and how the features are prioritized. Commercial prioritizes high brightness above everything else. That's really what they're there to do. Primarily in a commercial application, whether it's in a business or in a house of worship or in education, you're looking at things like PowerPoint. If your Chrome browser will allow you to do that, you might be looking at spreadsheets. That's the kind of content, you know what I'm talking about. That's the kind of content you're engaging with. It's typically not, moving video where, a high degree of video fidelity is the single most important factor. It's important, but it's not the single most important factor. When we talk about residential, video fidelity, specifically motion video, is the most important, right? Now, brightness might be number two, but video fidelity is more important. The reason I point that out is simply because you will find scenarios where you'll be dealing with, working with a client, a dealer, who's looking to install a projector in a residential space, but you end up maybe recommending a commercial product because it's just the high brightness is the single most important challenge you need to overcome. Or conversely, in a commercial space or in a education, house of worship, etc., where they're going to do a lot of like critical viewing, or maybe the space is going to be multifunctional. They're going to do meetings, but they're also going to come in and watch sports, and maybe the company owner is a huge sports fanatic, and so video fidelity suddenly becomes more important. So you want a residential projector with high brightness, because you're going to do meetings as well. So again, when we talk about residential, we talk about commercial, we're not talking about unique applications. We're talking about the prioritizations of feature sets. And it's typically brightness is number one on a commercial projector, and kind of video fidelity and everything that entails, upscaling, processing, motion, etc., is what is the most important in a residential application. Within the residential kind of bucket, there are sub-buckets. The primary kind of bucket that we work with in this channel is what we call the HE Pro, Home Entertainment Pro, or Pro Cinema kind of lineup. These products are designed for this channel. And when I mean designed for this channel, I mean a couple of things. Number one, how the pricing structure works, right? There's healthy margin built in. And that's a profitable margin, not only for distribution, but for the dealers, the installers, you know, et cetera. Also, it doesn't go on kind of promotion, right? You don't have to worry about kind of speccing a projector on one day. It happens to be on sale because it's dads and grads or, you know, whatever. And then you come back to buy it, you know, a week later and it's off promo, right? Or you're competing with other, you know, brick and mortar or e-tailers that have different kind of promotions that they're running, and you have to kind of chase the tail of pricing. So the HE Pro or Pro Cinema line or the CI products are stable pricing. They also all include a 3-year warranty with advanced replacement. So if you ever do run into an issue and you do need to have a new projector or send it for service, we don't wait to get the projector back and repair it and then return it to the client. We immediately send out the replacement projector. And as soon as, you know, that projector arrives, the new projector comes out of the box, the bad projector goes back into the box that the new one came in, along with a shipping label that we provide, and then you send it back. And you have 30 days to complete that process. And then, of course, there's limited distribution. We don't sell these products everywhere. The other products in the line, they tend to have shorter warranties. Their kind of price fluctuates, and they're not as profitable. So the CI kind of Pro line is really where we would encourage, you know, the CI dealers and distributors to sell, although you have access to everything. Now, within the family of the CI products, there are a number of projectors that, again, you have access to. But the good news is they are more similar than they are different. So largely, when you take a look at Epson's line for, we'll call it general home theater use, typically you're looking at you know, one of 5 projectors, and their primary difference is just how much they cost and how much brightness they bring to the table. The feature sets are largely the same. They all are motorized lens. They all support 4K. They all will do 4K 120, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There are some differences. A couple of the models utilize interchangeable lens for more installation flexibility. If you need to do something crazy, ultra short or ultra long or ultra weird, you know, you might need to use an interchangeable lens based chassis and then select the lens that's appropriate for the use case. 2 models are like that, and the other 3 are integrated lens projectors that you're very familiar with, you know, kind of today. But again, primarily the line is largely just differentiated in how much brightness do you need? So therefore, what are the requirements of the job? What are the expectations? What's the screen size? What are the ambient light conditions? And what's the budget? And largely, there's no really other difference. There's not really other major feature sets, significant major feature sets that would distinguish why you'd want to be one projector over the other. There's some minor differences, but nothing really significantly major, which makes the line really easy to understand when you're looking at the HE Pro, you know, kind of lineup. Now, one of the things that we like to push a lot at Epson, we like to talk about a lot at Epson is high brightness, because we deliver high brightness, but also because of the importance of high brightness when it comes to delivering a true HDR experience, right? I've been in this industry for 15 years, and for the longest time, for many years, I've largely personally recommended that the vast majority of end users just turn off HDR in their projectors, because probably their projector either isn't bright enough or their screen size is too large to really create an impactful HDR viewing experience. HDR requires an incredible amount of dynamic range to take advantage of everything that's in the content that you're trying to enjoy. And so my personal recommendation has been, hey, just bypass HDR in your projector. I understand that sounds terrifying, but SDR is glorious, and you're going to have a great time. And again, because projectors weren't bright enough. Epson delivers considerably more brightness per dollar than other manufacturers, and certainly the manufacturers that typically we compete with. And so, you know, as we now have formalized the Digital Cinema Initiative about 1.5 years ago, actually 2 years ago next month in 2 days, formalized a new standard that calls for or specifies 300 nits for large format HDR viewing, and that's for projection and for video wall, by the way. So 300 nits. That's an incredible amount of brightness when most projectors in most applications are delivering maybe 150 nits on screen when you do the math. And so this has really been kind of the problem that I was just describing, why I for a long time recommended just watching SDR. But now we have an actual standard. There's an actual target that kind of a recognized official body of nerds got together and said it's going to be 300 nits. Now, for those of you who don't know who DCI is, this is Hollywood. Every major studio is part of the DCI. So they don't make like recommendations the same way like THX or like SMPTE, the Society of TV and Motion Picture Engineers. Those are very important groups and very smart. Those groups make recommendations. They make suggestions. They're like, we think this is a good idea. DCI makes decisions. They say, this is how movies are made moving forward, because they have to be compatible with each other. The studios work together when it comes to production, distribution, exhibition, right? So they all have to be compatible. And so that's the new HDR standard that they're going for. Now, just to kind of give you some rough figures, right? If we assume you're using a screen gain, let's say a 1.3, which is not very uncommon. In fact, some of those popular screens are 1.2, 1.3 gain. And you take a look at some of the more common kind of brightnesses that are available, in the market, and you wanted to hit that 300 nit standard. It's like, how much brightness or what screen size could I hit with this projector that's, X brightness? 2,000 lumens, right? There are some very popular projectors that are sold in the market today. You distribute some of them that are 2,000 lumens. To hit 300 nits on a screen of screen with a gain of 1.3, sub 100 inches. You're about 97 inches, to make that work. So that's in the world of large format, 97 is a postage stamp, right? So that's a pretty, underwhelming kind of experience, especially when you can go to Costco, and buy a 98-inch TV for $1,600 and spend another $1.50 and get a hot dog, right? It's a tough sell to say, 97 inch is going to be the screen size for you. 2200 lumens is another very popular brightness for projection. You'd be at 105 inches, still relatively small. And by the way, this criticism of having enough brightness for screen size, it applies to some Epson projectors as well. So Epson makes the brand new LS9000, which is 2200 lumens. In most applications, I continue to recommend SDR viewing. 2700 lumens, both Epson and a lot of our competitors make a 2700 lumen projector, 116 inches. 3300 lumens, 130 inches. Now we're really getting somewhere, right? 130 inches is demonstrably larger than a television. And so that's really, I think, where the sweet spot for HDR starts to happen. And what makes Epson really unique is that we offer the QB1000 for $8,000 that is 3,300 lumens. And amongst our competitors, they also have projectors that are very good, by the way. Don't take this wrong. They're very good projectors that also offer 33 or 3,400 lumens, but are 4 times the cost. And so Epson just gives you more opportunities to deliver that kind of HDR experience. We also offer the 6,000 lumen QL3000. In that case, 6,000 lumens can go up to 173 inches. And then the QL7000 is 10,000 lumens. That goes up to 224 inches, again, to hit that 300 nit standard on a gain of 1.3. And that's really what makes Epson unique. It's not that we're the only ones making a 3,300 lumen projector, but we're largely the only ones making it at $8,000. That is designed for the CI channel and checks all the other boxes, that we're talking about. Now, I know I threw a lot of numbers at you right there. When it comes to nits and lumens and screen sizes, hope is not lost. Epson does have a tool that allows you to do a couple things very quickly and easily. It's our throw distance simulator. It doesn't require a login, right? You can just open up a browser and just type in Epson projector calculator, Epson projector simulator, and you'll be taken to a page on the top left-hand side at the top. You're going to see a link that says calculate. And when you go into that link, when you open that web page, you can type in or search for any Epson projector. And the tool does 2 things. First, it's primarily for throw distance. So you select the projector, you can select the screen size and the aspect ratio that you're working with. You can set the screen size based on the diagonal, the width, or the height, whatever. And then it will calculate the throw distance range for that projector. If it's an integrated lens projector, it'll just give you the range. It'll say, yeah, Based on that screen size, you can be from 12 feet to 25 feet, right? You can slide it around and kind of see what that looks like. If you select a projector that's interchangeable lens, the calculator will list all of the physically compatible lenses for that projector. And then as you click through each of those lenses, it will change the throw distance. And you can see, okay, which lens is going to work, because I know that I want my projector to be 12 feet away, right? So which lens is compatible? But I was just talking about brightness. So underneath the portion of the calculator where you enter the screen size and the aspect ratio, there's a toggle that says show brightness. It will calculate the on-screen brightness based on the screen size you've entered and the projector you've selected, assuming a gain of 1.0. So if you're using a 1.3 gain, you would just multiply whatever number that is by 1.3, or fractional gain screen of 0.7, you would multiply the number the calculator gives you by 0.7, right? And it will tell you this is the on-screen brightness. And so it's a good gut check that you can always use if you just want to confirm like a recommendation you're giving, or if you're kind of curious about what kinds of projectors and what kinds of brightness levels work best for different kind of environmental conditions. And that's kind of the residential side in a nutshell. Again, it's 5 models. It's the LS9000, the LS12000, the QB1000. Those are all the interchangeable lens models. They all share the same chassis. The primary difference is just different levels of brightness and different price points. So we start at 2,200 lumens for $4,000, and we go up to 3,300 lumens for $8,000 in that integrated kind of chassis design. And it's the identical chassis between the three, so they mount exactly the same way. And then we have the QL3000 and the QL7000, also part of that residential family. Those are the interchangeable lens projectors. So a lens is not included. We don't have like a e-waste standard lens that you throw out. You're not going to use it. So you'll specify the lens. There's 11 different compatible lenses with those projectors. Again, between the QL3000 and QL7000, just like the LS models, they share the exact same chassis. The difference is just one is 6,000 lumens at $16,000, and one is 10,000 lumens at $33,000. You know, what's the budget and what are the brightness requirements that you need to hit in order to make that work? So moving on from residential, let's briefly talk about commercial. As I mentioned previously, commercial prioritizes brightness more so than kind of video fidelity. And Epson's kind of commercial projectors can largely be broken down into 2 kind of buckets. Just like the residential side, we had 3 buckets and we focused on 1. Commercial is the exact same. The bucket we typically tend to work with is the large venue bucket. That's what we refer to it internally. But we also have classroom and small business projectors. Those are the super, portable projectors. You walk into a conference room, they're sitting on the table. You, of course, have access to those as well. But in the large venue, we're talking about projectors that go from about 6,000 lumens to 30,000 lumens, are available in both integrated and interchangeable lens, depending on the chassis, and also offer a couple different resolutions, from kind of high definition standard to WUXGA or 4K enhanced, and then full 4K. So you also have kind of a resolution toggle you can pull depending on, again, on the application that you're kind of going for. Let's talk first about the integrated lens projectors. So in the integrated lens projector family on the commercial side, we have the PowerLight L series. These are super compact, super bright, integrated lens, although it is a manual lens, non-motorized, so it's a manual lens, making them excellent for applications where you need a high level of brightness in a compact chassis, but you also don't need to do any type of zooming between different aspect ratios or different screens, different like dual screen, kind of setups. They're available from 6,000 to 8,000 lumens. They're available in white or black. They are integrated lens, but they do come with different lens throw ratios from short to kind of standard. And they do come in 2 different resolutions. Basically, what we would call 4KE, which essentially is a single shift that doubles the native resolution, making the effective resolution half 4K. So if you ever see something on an Epson projector that says 4KE or 4K Pro UHD, that's what that's referring to. It's referring to half 4K resolution, right? And then we offer those in kind of the standard WUXGA, 16 by 10, typical with 1920 by 1200 kind of resolution, depending on the unique needs of the client, how much kind of resolution requirements they have. On the interchangeable lens side, we have basically 3 series: EBPU, EBPQ, and Pro L. Not to get too confusing about all these, here's how it's easy to remember. EBPQ, just like the Q series on the residential side, is 4K, right? So if you're in the interchangeable lens kind of discussion on the commercial side, and you need higher resolution, you want to look for projectors that have the Q in the name, EBPQ. And those are available from 8,000 to 20,000 lumens. The EBPUs are just half that resolution. So again, half 4K. And those are available from 6,000 to 20,000 lumens. The chassis are very similar. Most are available in either white or black, and they're compatible with the same list of lenses. So again, you'd use the lens calculator tool to find which lens is correct for the application. And then Bob's your uncle, you're out the door. The Pro L is one model available in white or black, 30,000 lumens, 4 months lead time, hand built. But if you're looking to spend well over 6 figures on a $30,000 light cannon, we can make that happen for you. So we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about the Pro Ls because they are pretty esoteric in terms of their application. So I do want to talk about some of the common characteristics among all the projectors in the last couple of minutes that we have. First, all of the Epson projectors in our family, including, of course, the models we've talked about, feature Epson's 3-chip 3LCD technology. This is actually technology developed, invented by Epson, also manufactured in Lake Suwa in Japan at our facility there. 3-chip 3LCD is excellent for color fidelity and also for light efficiency. That's part of the reason why Epson projectors give you so much lumen output per dollar relative to other manufacturers. It's not because those other manufacturers are mean. They're nice dudes and ladies, right? They're nice guys and gals. The problem is their imager technology is much more light restrictive than 3-chip 3LCD. That's the first part of the problem. The second part of the problem, and to kind of address the elephant in the room that often comes up when we're talking about Epson is, well, is it 4K? I heard you guys use shift. We do. We utilize a shift technology. So our 4K projectors, our 4K display projectors, use a dual access shift. It shifts twice. And that's how you're able to get all 8.3 million pixels on screen. But they are all on screen and individually addressable. But by utilizing an imager with a larger aperture, so a larger opening for the light to pass through, it's also more light efficient. So we have more light efficiency based on resolution and using a shift plate, and we have more light efficiency based on kind of the native performance of 3-chip 3LCD. That's kind of the secret sauce when it comes to the high brightness output of Epson projectors. And I kind of mentioned this before, but it bears repeating. So when you're looking at Epson projectors, if you see the words 4K Pro UHD or 4KE, what that means is it's a shift-based technology, but it's a single shift, meaning it's half 4K resolution. That's the older technologies or some of the commercial technologies where resolution just isn't as important. And that means 4.15 million pixels. It's still really impressive, but I just want you to know there is a distinction between the two. When you see a projector that just says 4K or says 4K display technology, that's a 2 or dual access shift. That's all 8.3 million pixels. That's 4K, the way that you kind of think about 4K in terms of 4K, all 8.3 million pixels on screen. So that's how you can decode the Epson kind of language. All Epson projectors are compatible with major control partners, whether it's IP-based, RS-232-based, or using PJ-Link. And as far as gaming is concerned, all of the projectors we've talked about on the residential side, as I mentioned, are, I think I did mention HDMI 2.1, 40 gigabit per second, and they support kind of low latency gaming. Auto low latency mode is exclusive to the Q series, but all projectors can be put into a low latency mode to give you sub 20 millisecond for gaming. So whether you're, a console peasant or a PC master race, you can enjoy gaming, on your large format display. Because I unfortunately had to would have had to restart Chrome to show my screen. I'm not going to be able to show you a visual here, but I do want to kind of paint a picture in your mind here in the last minute we have of a couple unique things that are largely exclusive to Epson. I was dealing with two recent clients that largely had the same problem. They have very bright rooms, but they want to do a large format. They also want the display to be hidden when it's not in use. One was in Canada, I think on the St. Charles River, and waterfront property, right? Kind of these wraparound windows, maybe 20 feet of grass, and then there's the water. And all the furniture is facing these windows. So the last thing this client wanted to do is drop an 85-inch TV that was permanently on, a stand blocking the view. So projection was what he wanted to do, but projectors weren't bright enough. So we showed him the QL 7000, 10,000 lumen projector. He's like, this is great. Back in the back of the room, there's kind of a drop ceiling. So kind of a built-in soffit. He cut a hole in there, threw in the QL 3000 motorized lens. So during the day, he's watching content. During the day, no shades, no blinds, tons of natural light coming in, and he can watch his content. And when he wants to watch the water, he clicks a button and the projector turns off and the screen goes away. Similar, I'm actually working on this right now. They just did a dry fit yesterday. This is a house in the Bay Area here in the U.S. And the client called me and said they've got a big kind of open room. They have all these amazing windows, floor-to-ceiling windows, and they want to drop a screen right in front of the window and show a projector. I'm like, no problem, projector in the back of the room. They're like, no, the client wants it hidden. I'm like, no problem, motorized lift. They're like, can we permanently put the projector in the ceiling? And I'm thinking, yeah, we could do that, and maybe the lens just pokes out. And I'm like, yeah, we can do that. And then he goes, no, I mean like the lens and the projector all hidden. Oh, and by the way, my throw distance is 43 inches. And I was like, okay. So what we ended up doing is the QL 7000 and 10,000 lumens with our ultra short throw lens. The entire projector and lens is tucked up into the ceiling at a slight angle down, about 5 degrees tilted down. They cut a hole in the ceiling so the light can pass through and a motorized screen drops down in front of the windows. The entire thing is stealthed. Right? The only thing that drops down is the screen. Everything else is completely hidden. And in order to be able to do that during the day, you need a ton of brightness. But to do it from that distance and with those angles involved, you need someone who really is into projectors. Only Epson can deliver that solution. So when it comes to unique solutions, Epson is uniquely positioned to be able to solve, these kinds of interesting problems for you. So that's the end of kind of the slides and the presentation. It looks like we are exactly at time. Sean, I don't know if any questions came in.
No questions specifically. I do want to say I appreciate Aaron.
That's little Yoda back there. My Darth Vader's on this is the light side. The dark side, if I go over this side, maybe I'll get my camera to change.
Oh, that's awesome.
My dark side's on the other side, brother.
That's awesome. I'm a big Star Wars fan as well. I have way too many lightsabers in my house, and I'm an adult man. So no questions, but I will say one of the dealers on the call, I just saw your Epson application. Thank you. So you'll get a call from the Orlando sales team shortly. I appreciate that. And then Jamie, looks like you're working on your application as well. That's awesome. Thank you. We've had a really good launch with them already. And just to mention, we also picked up Stewart Screens. Very, very great complementary brand with Epson. They work very well together. We are stocking them. We already have our first PO in the barn. So definitely any dealers on the call, take a look at the Stewart Screens. We're really, really impressed with those guys. They ship really quick. So yeah, looks like we do have a few more questions. So Aaron asked, do you work with integrators on problem solving in a specific situation, such as the ones you described? So maybe he's thinking like on the job site type deal.
I do. And in the presentation, I had a QR code I was going to have you take a picture of with my contact information. Now it's just in the chat. So, jump in and email me, call me, text me. Part of my job as a technical account manager is to do pre-sales kind of advice and then even some post-sales, troubleshooting. So it's absolutely my pleasure. Jamie asked, how protected is the ELS 12,000? I see 3,500-ish online. Yeah, that happens sometimes when we see that. Sorry, Jamie. Yeah, when we see that, Jamie, we look in to try to find out who that is. If someone is breaking what essentially is our price policy, which is the advertised price, policy, that's what Epson controls. If you find out who it is, we cut them off. and they don't
Yep.
get projectors anymore. Again, it happens sometimes. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of a weird gray market that can happen when unauthorized dealers kind of wiggle their way into getting access to it. But we look into all of those and we squash them as absolutely as fast and as hard as possible because it's no good.
Very good. Yes, and the application process is getting quicker, I would say. So we have that link I put in the top of the chat. If you just fill that out, like I said, Aaron did it, and he already will get a phone call today. You can go ahead and quote, and then it takes you maybe a week or so to get Epson to send you the dealer paperwork. But I've noticed it's a very clean process. I will say, and Rob wanted to mention this, but I wanted to make sure I read through the email first. As dealers, you do get a spiff. I have that email in my inbox now, so I'll be sharing that with the entire sales team at 21st to make sure that they're communicating that out to you. But yes, you do get a spiff on several models, it looks like, ranging from $75 to like $250. So it's pretty awesome. I don't believe we have another projector line where dealers get spiffs to my knowledge. So that's a big deal for you guys. So that's an additional margin. So that's awesome. I think that's it. So yeah, Rob, again, great call. This is being recorded. So for those folks that weren't able to make the call, they'll be able to pull it off of our virtual conference center on our website. For the dealers and sales team that are on the call, you can certainly review it later. And Rob, as always, pleasure, man. Great training. And I look forward to moving more boxes for you guys.
I appreciate it. Looking forward to it myself. We're actually going to be visiting some of your locations, actually all of your locations over the next 2 weeks. So stop by, say hello, ask any questions in person that you don't want to ask in chat. And I'm looking forward to meeting hopefully most of you over the next 2 weeks.
Yep, that's right. Looks like Carolina's next week.
Yeah, Raleigh, Charlotte, Marietta, Atlanta, and then Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, Nashville the week after.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for having a great call with us, and we'll see you next time.